From the News Channel 5 network, this is Urban Outlook.
Hello and welcome to Urban Outlook. I'm April Eaton. Thank you so much for being with us today. Have you ever had a dream of traveling abroad? Maybe you've considered taking a semester off of your studies and doing some international travel. Or maybe you've built a list of top places that you'd like to visit that are in the world, and you're checking off those boxes as you make those trips. Vacationing is one thing, but what if you can turn that passion for travel into a different, longer-term opportunity? What if you could live or work or, like I said, study abroad? Well, our guest today has been there and done that, some might say. Now she's teaching others how to do it. Cha Jones is the president of Global Bound Consulting and the founder of Expat Women of Color. It's a nonprofit association for women who live, work, and study and travel abroad. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, April, for having me.
So as I said, a lot of people want to travel and take vacations, but they may not think about traveling and extending their stay by getting something more out of the opportunity, whether that be working outside of this country, whether that be studying outside of this country. Talk a little bit about your story and how you got into traveling.
Oh, well, that's a whole nother story. I didn't go looking for it. I actually sat on my couch. I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina at the time, and I just put it out in the universe. I want to see the world. Took a nap, woke up, and about a couple hours later, I had an email asking me to come work in Korea, and they had found my resume at the time. I was looking for a job. They found my resume online, and I looked at it. I went through the whole thing, and I thought, who does this? Like,
wow.
Really? Is this something someone does? And I deleted it. And just by chance, my girlfriend called me 2 days later and said that she wanted to go to Japan, but she was scared, and she wanted me to go with her.
Things just seemed to line right up, didn't they?
It did, and I thought she was crazy, but I applied. She did not go, but I went.
Wow.
And she was going to Japan, but when they called me back, they said that they needed someone to go to Korea. And the first thing came, it was Korea. The second thing came, it was Korea, and I was like, well, who am I to question what God wants for me to do? And I went with it, and it changed my whole entire life.
And you taught while you were there, correct?
I did. I first started off as an ESL, which is English as a Second Language instructor. And then I moved up to be a professor at a university and taught English writing, communication, and creative writing.
So first let's rattle off, and then we'll get into the conversation of how others can do what you do. But rattle off sort of the list of places that you've been. I thought it was impressive when I saw sort of your bio.
Well, I lived in Korea, South Korea. I've been to Malaysia, Japan, China. I've been to Singapore. I've been to Hong Kong, the Dominican Republic, Bahamas. I've also been to Panama, and on my way to Costa Rica next. So.
Wow. So now you are trying to show others how to do this, however they want to get there, whether it is working like you did, whether it is studying because they're at a university and they want to kind of split their time here in the States and abroad. How do you get started?
Well, first of all, I think that most people need to start with a plan because it may not just come to you
on the couch, right? But they actually need to put a plan together, right?
I mean, I knew that I wanted to see the world. I didn't know how, and I think for me, if you just kind of let the how stay out of your control, then you're really pretty good. But having a plan or knowing where you want to go or what you like or what you don't like. Are you accustomed to a certain food? Not accustomed to certain foods? Because it plays a huge role in the quality of life that you have. So I think starting with a passion is extremely important. I had an affinity to things that were Asian, so it was great that I went to Korea because it kind of helped me with some of the things that I had on my plate as far as spirituality, as far as just the culture, so that worked for me. But I think for individuals who are getting ready to start this journey, I always tell my clients to go in depth. The first question I asked you is to describe your ideal life in detail and in color. and then we go from there.
So obviously you have taken your passion and doing it yourself and helping others do it. You've got a book, you've got a blog, you've got your consulting group. Some might say you're a coach of sorts, a travel coach, not a travel agent, but a travel coach. So how do you help people put that plan together and do the things that you're doing when it comes to traveling and experiencing the travel beyond 4 or 5 days of vacation time?
Well, I am a coach, and I'm a certified coach. Became a certified coach before I went to Korea, and so that helps. And then I have a master's in intercultural leadership and management. So I have the background to do the fundamental work, but coaching somebody is really about tapping into what they desire, their passions, and that is the easy part, because I'm just there to pull it out of you. If you know that you want to live abroad or you want to travel abroad, and you have this experience that you want to have, that's the easy part. Just tapping into a person's desires is really all that I do. I work with people who may not even know how they want to do this or where they even want to go. Now that becomes a little tricky, because then I have to go down to like what is their fears, and a lot of times it's things that they wouldn't even think about. And so as a coach who is looking at not only the life experience that you want to have, but the places that you want to go, I do a really good job of pulling at heartstrings. So for me, looking at their desire, looking at their goals and their aspirations, and just helping them create a plan is basically what I do.
But you also have to be able to provide, I would think, the resources, and not monetarily resources, but the things that people need to do to get there. I mean, for instance, basic stuff, passport and all that kind of stuff. But then how do you really pull together a plan that will, if you're going to work there, find that job over there? How do you get that? And how do you help people through piecing that puzzle together so they have that complete plan before they jump on the plane and head over?
Well, see, that's really the easy part. So you just look at where they're going, and you have to understand, do you need a visa? Do you need a work visa? If you do need a work visa, the best thing for you to do is to find a job that will sponsor you to get the visa. And then at that point, you would go to a consulate and you would have a conversation, and they would approve you to actually work. And they will give you the visa. And it takes some time. So if you think tomorrow I want to get up, go work in Japan, it's probably not going to happen like that. It doesn't just happen where you apply for a job and then in 2 weeks you actually start.
Well, just like here.
Yeah. So you actually have to do some legwork, and you have to have some time. So it takes about anywhere from 1 to 3 months to secure a job, get a visa, and go. If you want to go to the country and find a job, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But you want to go to a country.
It's a little riskier, some might say.
It is. I know people who have done it and it worked out great, but I wouldn't. That's not my first step, and it wouldn't be my first train of thought to even tell someone to do that. But if that's what they want to do, they just need to find a country that will allow an American to come in without a visa, and then they would go on a tourist visa, which normally gives them 90 days to stay in a country. And then they would start the process of looking for jobs, and once they secure a job, after 90 days, they're going to have to leave the country and come back. So you just have to have time, you have to have patience, but you have to know where you're going. You have to make sure that we have good relationships with that particular country.
Yeah. You talked about those fears too, getting to the relationship with the country, especially women. You work with a lot of women who travel abroad. And I think about those fears like your girlfriend did when you first sort of started doing this back when you were in Charlotte. When you travel alone, what things do you have to think about as a woman alone? And what protections do you need to have in place, and safety factors do you need to consider before you take off?
I think it's extremely important to be safe. The world is not as bad as we portray it. Yeah, television. And it's so funny because before I left, I watched the movie Taken. the night before.
Okay.
And some would be like, why in the world would you do that? Because it's about a girl going abroad and basically getting taken, and her father has to come get her.
Yes.
But it didn't scare me. It didn't deter me. It actually helped me plan better. I was more aware of what I needed to be aware of in my surroundings. I think that's extremely important, is to be cognizant that you are in a foreign country. Play by their rules. You can't go and just get drunk and get in a car. You shouldn't do that here, but you definitely shouldn't do it somewhere where you don't have a frame of reference.
Right. And did it make a difference where you chose to live versus just picking a place in general?
For me, my housing was provided.
Okay.
But I think for people who are going on their own, which I call self-initiated expats, they need to be cognizant of where you're going. And you may want to take a vacation first and start there and look at places to go, places to live. Look at the environment. There are some places that are expat friendly. There are some places that are not so expat friendly. There are different neighborhoods. Just like here in America, you have your neighborhoods that you really, really want to live in, and you have neighborhoods not so desirable. So the same thing happens when you're abroad, and you just have to be very cognizant of that. And as a woman, I think protecting yourself and having an understanding of where you are, how things work, and getting a good friend that may even live there, connecting with someone prior to going, and that's what my organization does, is really it helps people find connections wherever they want to go, and at least ask questions or get a frame of reference.
Perfect. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, you've got your backpack packed, you've got your destination in mind. You have tons of tools to help people on their travels, including a new book that comes out this month. So let's talk about that when we come back. We'll be right back after this.